Imagine this. You walk into an interview room feeling confident. You practiced your answers, wore your best clothes, arrived on time, and told yourself, I've got this. But then, 20 minutes later, you walk out knowing something went wrong, even though you cannot explain exactly what happened.
And that is honestly one of the worst feelings ever.
Exactly, because sometimes people lose job opportunities not because they're unqualified, but because they make small mistakes they do not even notice.
Like saying the wrong thing without realizing it?
Yes, or even worse, doing something that feels normal to you but creates a bad impression instantly. A weak handshake, talking too much, arriving too early, looking nervous, speaking negatively about your old boss. These tiny mistakes can quietly destroy your chances.
And the scary part is that most people keep making the same mistakes again and again in every interview.
That is why today on TalkEasyDaily, we're going to break down 20 common job interview mistakes you must avoid if you want to sound more professional, more confident, and more memorable.
Because sometimes getting the job is not only about giving perfect answers, it's also about avoiding the things that make interviewers think, maybe this person isn't the right fit.
Exactly. And if you stay until the end, we're also going to talk about one mistake that seems small, but secretly ruins more interviews than almost anything else.
So make sure you stay with us because that one might surprise you.
And before we begin, comment below and tell us this. What is the most nervous you have ever felt before a job interview?
Oh, I remember one interview where my hands were literally shaking so badly that I almost dropped my resume.
That happens more often than people think. Interview nerves are normal, but when you know what mistakes to avoid, you immediately feel more prepared.
And more prepared means more confident.
Exactly. So let's start with something people rarely talk about. Many job candidates think the interview starts when they sit down in the chair.
But actually, it starts much earlier than that.
The moment you enter the building, the interview has already begun. The receptionist notices your attitude, the people in the waiting room notice your energy. Even the way you greet people can influence how others see you.
Wow, so if someone walks in looking annoyed, scrolling on their phone, or being rude to the receptionist, that already creates a bad impression?
Absolutely. One of the biggest interview mistakes is forgetting that everyone you meet may later share their opinion about you.
That is such a good reminder because a lot of people think only the manager matters.
But companies often look at your behavior from the moment you arrive until the moment you leave. They want to know if you're respectful, professional, and easy to work with.
So basically, even before you answer the first question, you're already being evaluated.
Exactly. And here's something even more interesting. Some interview mistakes are obvious, but others are hidden. In fact, there are certain habits that seem harmless, but quietly make you look unprepared, careless, or even arrogant.
And I have a feeling some viewers might be doing those mistakes right now without even realizing it.
Probably. So in the next part, we're going to talk about the first few mistakes that instantly damage your interview before you even have a chance to show your skills.
And trust me, mistake number one is something almost everyone has done at least once.
If you're enjoying this conversation so far, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to TalkEasyDaily, and share it with someone who has an interview coming soon.
Because one small mistake can cost you the job, but one smart change can completely change your future.
The first common mistake is arriving late.
That sounds obvious, but people still do it all the time.
They do, and being late immediately creates stress. You walk into the room, breathing fast, apologizing, feeling embarrassed, and trying to recover.
And when you start the interview stressed, everything becomes harder.
Exactly. Your mind is distracted, your confidence drops, your answers become weaker. Even if the delay wasn't your fault, the interviewer may still think, if this person cannot manage their time for an interview, how will they handle work responsibilities?
So what's the smart move?
Aim to arrive about 10 to 15 minutes early, not 30 minutes early because that can also create pressure for the interviewer, but 10 to 15 minutes is perfect.
That gives you enough time to relax, breathe, check your appearance, and mentally prepare.
Exactly. And here's a quick tip. If you've never been to the interview location before, try to visit the area one day earlier or check the route carefully.
Because traffic, parking, and getting lost can ruin everything.
And if something unexpected happens, always call ahead and explain politely.
That already sounds much more professional than showing up late without saying anything.
The second mistake is dressing inappropriately.
Oh, yes. Some people dress too casually, and some people dress in a way that doesn't fit the company culture.
Exactly. Your clothes send a message before you even speak. If you look messy, careless, or too relaxed, the interviewer may think you're not taking the opportunity seriously.
But at the same time, if you're applying to a very casual company and you wear something extremely formal, it can also feel strange.
That is true. The key is to understand the company culture. If you're interviewing for a corporate office, professional business clothing is usually best. If it's a creative company, you can be a little more relaxed but still polished.
So the goal is to look clean, neat, and professional.
Exactly. And people often forget small details like shoes, wrinkled clothes, messy hair, or strong perfume.
Strong perfume can be a huge mistake.
Absolutely. You want the interviewer to remember your skills, not your perfume.
That is such a funny but important point.
Here's mistake number 3, not researching the company.
That one is dangerous because interviewers almost always ask something like, "What do you know about our company?"
And when the candidate says, honestly, not much, the interview is already going in the wrong direction.
Because it makes you look uninterested.
Exactly. Employers want to hire people who are excited about the company, not people who applied to 50 jobs and don't even remember where they are.
So before every interview, you should know basic things like what the company does, what services they offer, and maybe even their values or mission.
Yes, you should also learn about the role you're applying for and understand why you want that specific job.
Because if you can't explain why you want the position, the interviewer might think you're only there because you need any job.
Exactly. And let me tell you a quick story. One hiring manager said he once interviewed a candidate who spent 10 minutes talking about why she loved the company.
That sounds good.
Except she was talking about the wrong company.
No way.
Yes, she had mixed up 2 companies because she had applied to so many jobs.
That is painful.
Very painful. And it shows why preparation matters so much. If you're watching right now, take this as a reminder. Before every interview, spend at least 20 or 30 minutes researching the company.
It can completely change the way you answer questions. And honestly, it can make you feel more confident too, because you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Now let's talk about another huge mistake, giving answers that are too short.
Like when the interviewer asks, "Tell me about yourself," and the candidate says, "Well, I'm hardworking."
Exactly. Short answers can make the conversation awkward. They force the interviewer to do all the work.
But at the same time, talking too much is also a problem.
That is true. There's a balance. You want your answers to be clear, detailed, and focused without turning them into a 10-minute speech.
So if someone asks, "Tell me about yourself," you shouldn't just give one sentence.
No, you should briefly talk about your background, your experience, your strengths, and why you're interested in the role.
Enough detail to sound interesting, but not so much that the interviewer gets lost.
Exactly. A good answer should feel like a story with a beginning, middle, and end.
That makes so much sense because stories are easier to remember than random facts.
Exactly. And here's a quick interview tip for you. Whenever you answer a question, think about using the simple structure of situation, action, and result.
So first explain the situation, then what you did, then what happened in the end.
Yes, that makes your answers feel organized and professional. And it also stops you from talking in circles. Now, here is another mistake people make all the time. They speak negatively about their previous boss, company, or coworkers. That is such a big red flag. Absolutely. Even if your last job was terrible, an interview is not the place to complain. Because if you spend 5 minutes criticizing your old boss, the interviewer may think, one day this person will probably talk about us the same way. Exactly. Companies want positive, professional people. They do not want drama. So if someone asks, "Why did you leave your last job?" what is the best way to answer? Focus on growth. You can say something like, "I learned a lot in my previous role, but I'm looking for new challenges and opportunities to grow." That sounds so much better than saying, "My boss was horrible." Exactly. Always stay respectful. Even if you had a bad experience, show maturity. Because professionalism is not only about what you say, it's also about how you say it. Exactly. And in the next part, we're going to talk about some even more surprising interview mistakes, including one body language habit that instantly makes people seem less confident. And trust me, most people do it without realizing it. If you're getting value from this episode, hit the like button and subscribe to Talk Easy Daily because we still have many more mistakes to cover. And one of the next ones could be the exact reason why your interviews have not gone well in the past. One of the most common interview mistakes is poor body language. And the crazy thing is, people often do it without realizing it. Exactly. You can have great skills, great experience, and great answers, but if your body language says, "I'm nervous, closed off, or not interested," it can completely change the interviewer's impression. So, what are some examples of bad body language? Avoiding eye contact is a big one. Looking down at the floor, staring at the table, or constantly looking around the room can make you seem insecure or distracted, even if you are just nervous. Exactly. The interviewer may not know you're nervous. They may simply think you lack confidence. What else? Crossing your arms tightly, shaking your leg nonstop, touching your face too much, slouching in the chair, or checking your phone. Checking your phone during an interview is unbelievable. It happens more than people think. Some people look at their phone while waiting and then forget to put it away completely. That immediately makes you look uninterested. Exactly. A better approach is to sit up straight, smile naturally, make comfortable eye contact, and keep your hands relaxed. You do not need to look perfect, you just need to look present and engaged. Exactly. And here's something interesting. Studies show that people often decide how they feel about someone within the first few minutes of meeting them. So your body language is creating an impression before you even answer the first question. Exactly. That's why your energy matters. If you enter the room looking defeated, tired, or uninterested, it becomes much harder to change that first impression later. Here's another mistake I think a lot of people make. They memorize answers too much. Yes, that's a huge problem. Because people want to sound prepared, but sometimes they sound like robots. Exactly. There's a difference between preparing and memorizing. If you memorize every answer word for word, you can sound unnatural. And if the interviewer asks something unexpected, you panic because it's not part of your script. Exactly. Instead of memorizing full answers, prepare key ideas, examples, and stories. So you sound flexible and natural. Yes, think of it like having points in your mind instead of reading from an invisible script. That also makes the conversation feel more real. Exactly. Because an interview is not a speech, it's a conversation. And honestly, when someone sounds too perfect, it can feel fake. Very true. Employers want to see the real you. They want to know how you think, how you communicate, and how you react under pressure. So if you make a small mistake while speaking, that's okay. Absolutely. Small pauses, little corrections, and natural conversation are completely normal. That's actually comforting because a lot of people think they need to sound perfect. Perfect is not necessary. Authentic is more important. Here's another mistake that can quietly hurt your interview: not listening carefully to the question. Yes, sometimes people are so nervous that they already start preparing their answer before the interviewer finishes speaking. And then they answer the wrong question. Exactly. For example, imagine the interviewer asks, "Can you tell me about a time you solved a problem in a team?" But the candidate starts talking about working alone. Exactly. That shows poor listening skills. And listening is a huge part of communication. It is. In many jobs, employers want people who can follow instructions, understand problems, and respond clearly. So what should you do if you're not sure you understood the question? It's completely okay to ask politely. You can say something like, "Could you please repeat the question?" Or, "Just to make sure I understand, are you asking about teamwork or leadership?" That sounds much better than giving a confusing answer. Exactly. Taking a few seconds to understand the question is always better than rushing into the wrong answer. Here's a mistake that surprises a lot of people: not asking questions at the end of the interview. Yes, when the interviewer says, "Do you have any questions for us?" many candidates say, "No, I think I'm good." That feels like such a missed opportunity. It is, because asking good questions shows that you're interested, curious, and serious about the role. So, what are some smart questions people can ask? You can ask things like, what does success look like in this position? Or, what are the biggest challenges someone in this role might face? Those questions sound thoughtful. Exactly. You can also ask about company culture, training opportunities, or what the interviewer enjoys about working there. That makes the conversation feel more personal, too. Yes, and it helps you decide if the company is right for you. Because interviews are not only about them choosing you, you're also choosing them. Exactly. And here's a quick tip. Try to prepare at least 3 questions before every interview. That way, even if one question gets answered naturally during the conversation, you still have others ready. Exactly. Now let's talk about another major mistake, showing no enthusiasm. That can be a silent interview killer. Absolutely. If you answer every question with a flat voice, no smile, and no excitement, the interviewer may think you don't really want the job, even if you actually do want it. Exactly. You don't need to act like you won the lottery, but you should show energy, because enthusiasm is contagious. Yes, employers like people who seem motivated and positive. If you sound excited about the opportunity, the interviewer is more likely to imagine you as part of the team. So even simple phrases like, "I'm really excited about this opportunity," can make a difference. Absolutely. Your tone of voice matters just as much as your words. And honestly, if 2 candidates have similar experience, the more enthusiastic person often stands out more. Very true. Skills matter, but attitude matters too. In the next part, we're going to talk about even more interview mistakes, including one thing people say that instantly makes them sound unprepared. And if you've ever walked out of an interview thinking, "Why did I say that?" then you definitely need to hear the next section. Also, if you're still watching, comment below with the interview mistake you think is the most dangerous so far. And don't forget to subscribe to Talk Easy Daily, because the next few mistakes are the kind people usually only learn after losing the job opportunity. Another major interview mistake is giving vague answers. You mean when people answer questions in a very general way without giving real examples. Exactly. For example, imagine the interviewer asks, "What is one of your strengths?" And the candidate says, "I'm hardworking." That sounds nice, but it's too vague. Almost everyone says they're hardworking. So the interviewer probably hears the same answer again and again. Exactly. If you want to stand out, you need to prove your strengths with examples. So instead of just saying, "I'm hardworking," you could say something like, "At my previous job, I often stayed late to finish projects, and one time I helped complete an important task 2 days before the deadline."
Exactly. That answer feels real. It gives the interviewer a picture in their mind.
And people remember stories much more than simple adjectives.
Very true. The same thing happens when interviewers ask about weaknesses.
Oh, that question makes people nervous.
It does, and many candidates make the mistake of giving fake weaknesses.
Like saying, "My biggest weakness is that I work too hard."
Exactly. Interviewers hear that answer all the time, and it sounds fake.
So what is a better way to answer?
Choose a real weakness, but also show that you are working to improve it.
For example,
You could say, "In the past, I sometimes struggled with public speaking, but I have been working on it by practicing presentations and speaking more in team meetings."
that sounds honest and professional.
Exactly. It shows self-awareness and growth.
Because employers do not expect perfection. They expect honesty and improvement.
Very true. Now here's another common mistake: interrupting the interviewer.
That can happen when people are nervous or excited.
Exactly. Sometimes candidates interrupt because they want to prove themselves quickly, but when you interrupt too much, it can make you seem impatient or disrespectful.
And it can make the conversation feel awkward.
Yes, a good interview should feel balanced. You listen carefully, wait for the interviewer to finish speaking, and then respond calmly.
That sounds simple, but when you're nervous, it's easy to jump in too early.
Absolutely. One trick is to pause for 1 second after the interviewer stops speaking.
That tiny pause can stop you from interrupting.
Exactly, and it also makes you sound more thoughtful.
Here's another mistake people make. They focus too much on salary too early.
Yes, salary is important, of course, but if the first thing you ask is how much money will I make, it can create the wrong impression.
Because it may sound like you only care about the paycheck.
Exactly. Employers want to feel that you are interested in the role, the company, and the opportunity too.
So when is the right time to talk about salary?
Usually later in the interview process, unless the interviewer brings it up first.
That makes sense.
You want to first show why you are valuable. Then salary becomes part of a professional discussion.
Because if the interviewer likes you, you're in a stronger position to discuss money later.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about a mistake that many people do not realize they are making, using weak language.
What do you mean by weak language?
Phrases like, I guess, maybe, kind of, sort of, or I'm not really sure.
Oh, wow. Those words can make you sound uncertain.
Exactly. Imagine the interviewer asks, why should we hire you?
And you answer, I think I could maybe do a good job.
That sounds weak immediately.
Even if you are actually qualified.
Exactly. Stronger language sounds much more confident. You can say, I believe my experience in customer service and problem solving would allow me to contribute strongly to your team.
That sounds much more powerful.
Exactly. Confidence in language matters.
But I think there's an important difference between confidence and arrogance.
Absolutely. And that leads us to another huge mistake, acting arrogant.
Some people try so hard to sound confident that they end up sounding rude.
Exactly. They talk like they already know everything, or they act like they're better than the job.
That can be a big problem because companies want team players.
Yes, confidence says, I know my strengths. Arrogance says, I know more than everyone else.
That is such a good distinction.
Employers want people who are skilled, but also open to learning.
Because no matter how talented you are, nobody wants to work with someone who is difficult.
Very true. A great interview candidate sounds confident, humble, and respectful at the same time.
Here's something else people often forget, their online presence.
Yes, many employers check social media before making hiring decisions.
That's honestly a little scary.
It can be. If your social media is full of offensive comments, unprofessional photos, or negative behavior, it can hurt your chances.
So before applying for jobs, it's smart to check your online profiles.
Exactly. You don't need to remove your personality, but you should make sure your public image matches the professional image you want to create.
Because employers often look for consistency.
Exactly. If you sound professional in the interview, but your online presence tells a very different story, that can create doubts.
In the next part, we're going to talk about some of the final interview mistakes people make, including one mistake that often happens after the interview is already over.
And believe it or not, some candidates lose the job because of what they do after they leave the room.
That part is going to surprise a lot of people.
So stay with us, keep watching, and if this episode is helping you, make sure you subscribe to Talk Easy Daily for more real English conversations that can help your career and confidence grow. One of the biggest mistakes people make happens after the interview ends.
That's surprising because most people think the hard part is over once they walk out of the room.
Exactly. But the truth is, what you do after the interview can still affect the final decision.
So what is the mistake?
Not following up.
Ah, yes. A lot of people never send any message after the interview.
Exactly. A simple thank you email can make a huge difference.
Because it shows professionalism.
Yes, it also shows appreciation and reminds the interviewer who you are.
So what should a follow-up message say?
It can be very simple. You can thank the interviewer for their time, mention that you enjoyed the conversation, and say that you're excited about the opportunity.
That sounds easy, but I think most people skip it because they think it doesn't matter.
It matters more than people realize. Imagine two candidates have similar experience.
But only one sends a thoughtful thank you message.
Exactly. That person often feels more professional, more organized, and more interested in the role.
So the interview is not really over until after the follow-up.
Very true. Now here's another mistake, talking too much after answering the question.
Oh, I know this one. Sometimes people answer the question well, but then they keep talking because they're nervous.
Exactly. And the more they talk, the more likely they are to say something confusing or unnecessary.
It's like when you answer correctly, but then you ruin it by adding too much information.
Exactly. A strong answer should be clear and focused.
So if you answer the question well, it's okay to stop talking.
Absolutely. Silence is not your enemy. You don't need to fill every second with words.
That's such a helpful reminder because nervous people often think silence is bad.
But silence can actually make you look more thoughtful and calm.
Here's another common mistake, not bringing the right materials.
Yes, some people arrive without a copy of their resume, without a notebook, without a pen, or without any documents they might need.
That can make you seem unprepared.
Exactly. Even if the interviewer already has your resume, it's smart to bring extra copies.
Because you never know who will join the interview.
Exactly. You should also bring a notebook and pen so you can write down important information.
That also makes you look organized.
Very true. Here's another mistake people make. They don't practice enough before the interview.
Some people think they can just walk in and answer everything naturally.
Exactly. But interviews are a skill, and like any skill, practice helps.
So people should practice common questions before the interview?
Absolutely. Questions like, tell me about yourself, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and why do you want this job?
Because if you practice those questions, you feel much less nervous.
Exactly. You don't need to memorize every word, but practicing helps you organize your thoughts.
It's like preparing for an important presentation.
Very true. And here's a quick tip. Practice out loud, not just in your head.
That's such a good idea because things often sound different when you actually say them.
Exactly. You may realize that some answers are too long, too short, or confusing.
Here's another mistake people make without realizing it. They fail to match their answers to the job.
Yes, this is a huge problem because sometimes people give great answers, but the answers don't connect to the role they want.
Exactly. For example, if you're applying for a customer service job, you should talk about communication, patience, and helping people.
But if you're applying for a leadership role, you should talk more about decision-making and teamwork.
Exactly. You want the interviewer to clearly see why your skills fit their needs.
So before every interview, it is important to study the job description carefully.
Yes, look at the skills they mention most often and think about examples from your own experience.
That way, your answers feel more relevant.
Exactly. And relevance is powerful because employers want to feel that you understand the role.
Here is another mistake that people do not always think about: looking too desperate.
Yes, sometimes candidates become so eager that they say things like, I really need this job, or I will do absolutely anything.
That can make the situation uncomfortable.
Exactly. It's okay to want the job, but you should still sound calm and professional.
Because confidence is attractive.
Very true. You want to sound excited, not desperate.
So instead of saying, I need this job so badly, you can say, I'm very excited about this opportunity because it matches my skills and goals.
Exactly. That sounds much stronger.
And now we're getting close to one of the final mistakes, right?
Yes, and this one is extremely important. Not being yourself.
That sounds surprising because people often think they need to act differently in interviews.
Exactly. Many candidates try so hard to sound perfect that they stop sounding real.
They become too formal, too serious, or too fake.
Exactly. But employers are not only hiring skills, they're hiring a person.
They want to know what it would feel like to work with you every day.
Exactly. So yes, be professional, but also let your real personality show.
Smile naturally. Be honest. Let your energy come through.
Exactly, because people connect with real people.
And if you pretend to be someone else in the interview, it becomes very hard to keep pretending after you get the job.
Very true. In the next part, we're going to bring all of these ideas together with relatable examples in real-life interview situations.
Because sometimes seeing the mistake in action makes it much easier to remember.
Exactly. And we're also going to talk about the one small mistake that secretly destroys more interviews than people realize.
So keep watching because that final mistake could completely change the way you prepare for interviews forever.
Let's imagine two people going into the same interview.
Okay, this should be interesting.
The first person walks in late, out of breath, with messy papers in their hand.
Already not a great start.
Then they sit down, avoid eye contact, and when the interviewer asks, tell me about yourself, they say, I don't know, I'm hardworking, I guess.
That sounds nervous immediately.
Exactly. Then the interviewer asks, why do you want to work here?
And the person says, honestly, I just need a job.
Exactly. Then they complain about their old boss, interrupt the interviewer 3 times, and leave without asking any questions.
That interview is basically over before it even begins.
Exactly. Now imagine a different person.
Same experience level?
Same experience, same education, same skills.
Interesting.
But this person arrives 10 minutes early. They greet the receptionist politely. They sit calmly, smile, and make eye contact.
That already feels more professional.
Then, when the interviewer says, "Tell me about yourself," they answer clearly.
Something like, I have 3 years of customer service experience, I enjoy solving problems, and I'm excited about this role because I love working with people.
Exactly. Then, when asked why they want the job, they connect their skills to the company.
So they sound prepared instead of desperate.
Exactly. They give examples, they stay positive, they listen carefully, they ask thoughtful questions at the end.
And even if they're nervous, they still sound confident.
Exactly. Now, here's the important point. Neither person was perfect.
But one person avoided the common mistakes.
Exactly. And that's often the difference between getting rejected and getting hired.
Because interviews aren't only about proving that you can do the job.
They're also about showing that you're professional, respectful, prepared, and easy to work with.
Let's talk about a few real-life situations people can relate to.
Good idea.
Imagine someone is asked, what is your biggest weakness?
Most people panic immediately.
Exactly. They either say something fake or they accidentally say something too negative.
But a smarter answer would be something like, in the past, I sometimes had trouble delegating tasks because I like to control everything myself, but I've been learning to trust my team more and communicate better.
That sounds honest without making you look bad.
Exactly. Here's another situation. The interviewer asks, why did you leave your previous job?
That question can be dangerous.
Yes, many people make the mistake of saying, because my manager was terrible and the company was a mess.
Even if it's true, that answer sounds very negative.
Exactly. A better answer would be, I learned a lot in my previous role, but I'm looking for new opportunities to grow and challenge myself.
That sounds so much more professional.
Very true. Here's another one. The interviewer asks, why should we hire you?
That question scares a lot of people.
It does, but this is your moment to show confidence.
So instead of saying, I don't know, I'll try my best, you could say, because I have experience in this area, I enjoy solving problems, and I work well with people.
Exactly. Then you can give a quick example to support it.
That makes your answer stronger and more memorable.
Very true. Now let's talk about the small mistake that secretly destroys more interviews than people realize.
I've been waiting for this one.
The mistake is rushing.
Rushing?
Yes, people rush into the room. They rush their answers. They rush to speak before thinking. They rush because they're nervous.
And when people rush, they make mistakes.
Exactly. They interrupt. They forget details. They speak too fast. They sound less confident.
That is so true because nervous people often think speaking faster will help them.
But usually it does the opposite.
So slowing down can actually make you sound smarter and calmer.
Exactly. A short pause before answering can make a huge difference.
Because it gives you time to think.
Yes, and it also shows the interviewer that you are thoughtful, not careless.
That is such an important lesson because people often think confidence means speaking quickly.
But real confidence is calm.
That is powerful.
Think about the most confident people you know. They don't rush every sentence. They speak clearly, they pause, they stay calm.
And that calm energy makes people trust them more.
Exactly. So before your next interview, remember this. Slow down.
Breathe.
Listen carefully.
Think before you answer.
Smile.
Stay positive.
And remember that the interviewer is not expecting perfection.
They're simply looking for someone they can trust, respect, and imagine working with every day.
And if you avoid these common mistakes, you immediately give yourself a much better chance.
Because sometimes success is not about doing one amazing thing.
It's about avoiding the small things that quietly hold you back.
If you're still watching right now, comment below and tell us which interview mistake you think is the most dangerous.
And also tell us which mistake you think you have made in the past.
Because being honest about your mistakes is the first step to improving.
And if this episode helped you, make sure you like this video, subscribe to Talk Easy Daily, and share it with someone who has a job interview coming soon.
Because one conversation can change someone's confidence.
And one good interview can change someone's life.
We'll see you in the next episode of Talk Easy Daily.